Before they were rained out in D.C. on Monday, the Guardians made a change to their batting order. They might be forced to make a change in right field if production doesn't start happening soon.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into a rainout doubleheader edition of Locked On Guardians. The Guardians didn't play Monday. They're playing 2 today, but we're here with you every single day. This is Locked On Guardians. Nobody can replace us. We hope you're making us your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. We are covering the Cleveland Guardians from the majors to the minors, all the way to the draft. We'll have a bunch of that covered for you today. Nobody else is doing it every day like we are. We're making it more fun to be a Cleveland Guardians fan and making you more informed every day. I am Justin Lada. I have been informed, maybe, about the Cleveland Guardians since 2007. I've been watching them my whole life. I've been writing about them since 2007. You could find all of my minor league analysis and much more at the News Herald, the Morning Journal, and next year in Cleveland.substack.com. And here, 5 days a week with my friend and co-host of one, the only, Jeff Ellis, who decided to mute himself, so he thought his introduction was not important.
Yeah, it's having some difficulties, some technical stuff on multiple levels. Thank you all for joining us. I'm Jeff Ellis. I used to be a national writer at Scott 24/7, focused on prospects in the draft. Now I am here at Locked On, where I have been since the inception of the MLB side of Locked On. Quick shout out and thank you to all of our everydayers. Thank you for making today's episode your first listen. I'm going to recommend you go check out Sully and the Locked On MLB podcast, where Justin's going to appear or has appeared, as well as the MLB Squad show that will be appearing in your feed soon, which might also have Justin.
It's a good replacement for the newsletter we don't have, but might have someday. On today's show, on today's Locked On Guardians, what is going on with Travis Bazzana? We'll dive into some of that performance among some other minor league standouts for the Guardians this year. The strike zone, it is shrinking this year. We'll talk about how it's impacted the Guardians pitchers so far. Before we get there, we want to talk about right field and if the Guardians are ever going to get any offense out of right field. Before we get there, though, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code MLB, LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Jeff, we've said multiple times on this show, we've had lots of comments saying Nolan Jones isn't hitting, Nolan Jones isn't doing this. And we keep defending Nolan Jones because he has got a great baseball savant profile. There's a lot of red. It's very pretty. There is some blue in there, but it's mostly red, which means usually good things. The stats on Savant say that Nolan Jones should be hitting about 50 points higher. He should be slugging about 200 points higher, but he's not. And, as for much as we like to rely on Baseball Savant and the data, results have to happen on the field. But Nolan Jones is out of options. The Guardians don't have a lot of right field options right now, other than the ones they've cycled through before. So the real question is, how much longer do the Guardians stick with Nolan Jones in right field? He was going to bat 8th on Monday with Daniel Sheeman hitting second, which is the right call, I think. I didn't necessarily dislike Nolan Jones hitting second. I think it's a good position for him because he can draw a lot of walks and really wear down pitchers before they get to Jose Ramirez behind him. But Jose wasn't really hitting either, so I don't know how much of an impact it really had. And Nolan Jones is a little more passive than he is patient. But at some point, we can talk about the data and the expected stats all we want, and we'll take good process all the time because that will eventually lead to good results. But at some point, the results have to show up on the field, and for Nolan Jones, that has not happened at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that stands out too amongst his data is he's got a really weird pop-up rate. Like, he is just getting under the ball. So they got to work with him, and maybe that's the account of being too passive. Still, we're 35 games in. It's such a small part of the season. We've talked about the ups and downs. And see what's there. I know people are going to be like, it's crazy to want to move or to keep getting that level of production and be okay with it. The interesting thing is he's had quite a few good games. Like, he's got, in the 3-star thing I do, he's had, he's like 5th on the team. Like, he's had some really productive moments, especially in bigger moments too. You need more, and the numbers show there should be more. They also show that what's wrong. So you're hoping that, with all of the pitching coaches, pitching staff, coaching, you'll be able to get more out of him. If there was a better option, I'd say go with it. I just honestly don't think there is a whole lot of a better option. Maybe since the one thing I'm seeing is he's not squaring up things as well, maybe he should consider a torpedo bat or something like that. Maybe that would help. Maybe he's the guy who could benefit to help him square up the ball a little bit more. I know it's often about where you hit the ball, and the torpedo bat phase is faded, but always look for ways to find advantage. I think over the course of a season, he'll be solid. I never thought he was going to be great, but I think he is a solid player who's going to do some nice things and gives them some things, frankly, they need in terms of power and patience.
Yeah, if you look at a lot of the data this year, it is very similar to what he did in 2023, which I think tells you again that what he did in 2023 was unsustainable, and also the Coors Field effect, all that kind of stuff really helped him out there. But yeah, he's hitting the ball harder than he's ever hit the ball in his career. He is hitting the ball at a good average launch angle, 14.5 degrees is somewhat close to optimal. It's better than it was for him the last 2 years. Even his good year in Colorado, he's doing a lot of things really well. But yeah, production has to happen at some point, and I don't know, Jhonkensy Noel is not giving you anything either. He looks like Oscar Gonzalez 2.0, and I know there's gonna be some people saying too, it's hard for him to find consistency when he's playing once a week, and I agree with that. It is going to be hard for a guy like Jhonkensy Noel to play once a week and find consistency because he's not the kind of hitter that can face pitching once a week and find his swing. But the problem is he is chasing everything, which is what he did a year ago. And teams have decided, well, we don't need to throw him a strike unless we absolutely are forced to. That's one guy we just haven't seen any growth out of. So they're getting nothing out of right field. People keep pointing out Will Brennan. We know what Will Brennan is. Will Brennan's not going to give you any pop out of right field. He's going to give you defense. He's going to give you some speed. He can play. He's got a good throwing arm. He doesn't draw any walks. He essentially is giving you the same, just a little bit better than Nolan Jones in terms of you're gonna trade the on base for batting average, but it's going to be empty batting average for Will Brennan. And then there's a lot of people who are in the Jonathan Rodriguez camp who is this guy keeps hitting in AAA, and I'm not against trying Jonathan Rodriguez, but I think we also kind of know what he is too. He's also a guy who chases a ton and has a hard time recognizing off-speed stuff, and you could cycle through all those options. Maybe you just wait until Chase DeLauter gets healthy, which, by the way, he's going on a rehab assignment starting, I believe, on Monday night in Arizona. So, you could wait on him to make a change. Maybe you wait till Lane Thomas comes back. When Lane Thomas comes back,
that's what's going to be.
Yeah, do you send down Noel? Do you send down Rocchio and play Arias at shortstop? Those are the two questions you have to ask yourself, because the thing is, it can't be Angel Martinez. Angel Martinez has to stay up. So you're looking at one of Rocchio or Noel. You could play Thomas in right field or center field. It really depends on what you want to do, but the Guardians don't really have a lot of options currently. I don't think it makes any sense for them to go to Will Brennan right now, because we know what Will Brennan is. And if your whole hope is to activate Lane Thomas and send down Noel, or play Martinez in center and play Lane Thomas in right mixed with Nolan Jones, you can do that. Or you can play Daniel Steeman out there too. You could bring up Jonathan Rodriguez and send down Jhonkensy Noel too, if you want to do that. But you're going to run into the same problems with Rodriguez, is because he's not going to see a lot of lefties, and you're not going to find out much about him in the next 30 to 60 days. It's going to take a whole season of at bats for many of these guys. And maybe we do and don't know already about what Nolan Jones can and can't do, and Jhonkensy Noel, but your options are really to stick with them, go with some retreads, or you just are praying that Lane Thomas comes back and figures it out, or you're praying for Chase DeLauter to stay healthy and be ready anytime soon.
I think it's pretty straightforward what they're going to do. It's exactly that. When Lane Thomas comes back, you have a Thomas Noel situation, and right, you let Martinez play as long as he is hot. Here's the thing: Martinez, Arias, they have a lot of guys who have a large swing profile that is probably going to come back to bite them. Now, it doesn't come back for everyone, but it does feel likely. So you ride the hot bat. When Thomas comes back, he's going to be the right fielder, is what it certainly feels like on paper. and you still give Jones opportunities. Specifically because he is a left-handed bat, so he'd be a natural platoon partner with Thomas. Not that you want to platoon Thomas, but if it's something like a 70-30 role, that might allow Jones to his way out of it. I saw some people in the comments talking about how it'd be nice to have Ty Freeman back. Ty Freeman hasn't really done anything this year, so it's not like
he's hurt.
Been hurt, but he wouldn't be able to do anything for you because he got hurt. And let's be honest, there's a reason why he spent half of last year in the minors. They put this team together. Jones gives you an upside and a ceiling. I think Noel going down. I guess the only interesting thing too, just to give you a major league comparison, is the Rangers recently DFA'd Leotis Tavares, who has a higher runs created plus than anyone on this team, with a much better defensive profile. I'm not saying
he's kind of a guardian, is what you're saying.
I mean, if you put Tavares and Quad in the corners, you would cover so much ground in the corners. Those two would be ridiculous. I mean, Tavares is a borderline Gold Glove center fielder. I don't think you claim him. This is a guy who's pretty much good for an 80 WRC plus at the best of times. You look at Jones, you look what he's done. You got Thomas coming back. You're hoping you'll get DeLauter. DeLauter's got to, I mean, DeLauter can't hold up in a season. Like, the problem with waiting on DeLauter is this is a guy who's played like half of his expected games or less every single year in the minors. To expect him to come up and keep it, not even the minors, in college. I mean, probably dating back to Little League, this guy has yet to play a full even 3/4 of the season, it feels like. So DeLauter is he's the cherry on top. You can't count on him. You're probably counting on Thomas. And then if Thomas doesn't work and Jones doesn't work, they'll do what they did last year when DeLauter got hurt, which is find a right fielder at the deadline. Like, they're going to go out if they are competing and do what they did a year ago.
Yeah. Otherwise it's just rolling through the other options again. It's Will Brennan, who again we know what he can do at the major league level.
He is, and it's not a major leaguer.
Yeah, it's a fourth outfielder best, and you're saying, well, maybe he's better than Nolan Jones. Again, you're trading average for on base percentage, and it's an empty average. And I don't know, Nolan Jones at least hit the ball out of the ballpark, and Will Brennan's not going to do that for you, and he just swings at everything. It's they can't find a balance. Like, Nolan Jones doesn't swing at anything, and Will Brennan swings at everything, and so does Jhonkensy Noel. So yeah, you don't want to platoon Lane Thomas when he comes back, but him and Schneemann and Martinez and Jones, you can at least find time for in right field / center field until one of them really just makes it work. And you're going to have to play Lane Thomas anyway, because he was a big part of your plans coming in, but he's still at least a week or two away. But the Guardian said his wrist is starting to feel a lot better. The umpires, I don't know how good they're feeling. They are striking the strike zone. It is not making Guardians pitchers feel very good. One in particular that we'll talk about coming up today on Locked On Guardians.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all the money go? I hope that's not the case. Really hope that's not the case for you. Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's so easy to spend money and to lose track of it. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO. And it gives you full visibility and control of your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in place. So stop just managing your money and start building wealth. I say it's really easy. I got kids. Like, so often I go to the store, I'm like, yeah, we can get that extra item. Or, you're just little purchases here and there could really mount up with children, especially in the day and age of being able to buy everything on your phone. Octonauts are a big Octonauts household right now. I definitely just bought a bunch of guys on eBay because it's the only way you can get some of those figures. And I got to track that. I got to know where it is. I got to make sure I'm getting Captain Barnacle at a good price. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Get yourself some Quasi Cats, some Captain Barnacles. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
We have an excuse for everything on this show. Gavin Williams, he's being squeezed by the strike zone. See, we can cherry pick any stats we want and make players seem like they're doing just fine. No, the Gavin Williams has had some good starts. He's had some bad starts, but our good friend Eno Saris over at The Athletic basically did a deep dive on the strike zone this year, and Jeff sent it over to me. We read it, and Gavin Williams is one of the many players this year who was feeling the squeeze of a tight strike zone. Does it explain all of his struggles? I think it explains some, but not all of them.
Yeah, he is literally the poster child for this article. He is the guy on top. So to give you the big thing, the big piece is like Jason Stark, Ken Rosenthal, Saros did a piece, and that is just, and that's three of the best in the game right now. So there used to be a buffer around the zone that was 2 inches, and now it's 0.75. And what it means is actually, overall percentage of called strikes or percentage of pitches called correctly this year is at 88.2%. That's the best it's ever been. Correct balls at 88.6, best it's ever been. Here's where it gets interesting, though. Correct percentage of strikeouts, 87.2. That's actually down 1.4, nearly a point and a half, which I know people are like, how much is that? All of that is a big deal when you're talking thousands of pitches, right? Like thousands and thousands of pitches. 1% is a huge shift. And specifically, kind of like the pitches in the shadow of the zone, what the umpires call the buffer. It's a little bit different than what the shadow part of the zone is traditionally called. But the interesting thing here is shadow strike percentage was 47, 47, 46. This year it's 42. So like for Gavin Williams, for a lot of guys, I'm kind of surprised Ben Lively is pitching as well as he is. Like he's the player who should probably be feeling this the most. So that's why it shows you that it's not all just, this for Gavin, but just stand out that, the zone has been shrunk this year. And it's making it harder for pitchers, which again, this makes sense. Why does this make sense? Baseball has been basically since they cracked down on steroids. Ever since then, they've been trying to increase offense. It's like the sticky stuff ban, shrinking the strike zone. They're doing a lot of things to make it easier because offense is what brings eyes. Offense brings attention. Now, the big picture here, and he is a big pitcher as well with Gavin Williams, is, like as Sarah says in the piece, that he's also like his curveball heat map is needs to be improved. His location's been poor. So his location's kind of poor all around right now. He just needs to tighten things up, which was honestly like if his data wasn't good a year ago, it's worse this year on the curveball. And he wasn't a good pitcher a year ago. He had a negative WAR. He brought negative value to this team in spite of those starts. So that's pretty darning right there. So, his curveball is his best pitch by stuff plus. He just needs to throw it in the strike zone more so it can actually be effective. And it's like with this, in his, they say in here, it's like with his pitch mix, he should be good. So it's affecting him. He's definitely one of those pitchers that's most affected. But, it's also his command has been poo-poo.
Yeah, that's more important for Bo Naylor, who's been a great framer this year. But yeah, I mean, you can blame the tight strike zone. I think there is some valid points to that. Like we've seen it with Tanner, we've seen it from other guys too. And although I feel like the Guardians have had an inordinate number of calls, like Stephen Kwan every year just gets absolutely cheated on calls on the shadow of the zone, the border of the zone. I feel like a couple years in a row he led baseball and called strike threes that were not strike threes. We see that data, that graphic at the end of every season. I feel like Gavin Williams, to me, most of his issues are not, yes, it's command related, but I think more than not, Gavin Williams' biggest problem is his pitch mix overall. Like he is very predictable, and like he shouldn't have a bad fastball, right? Like he throws 95 to 98. He can touch 100. He's got great extensions. So like the fastball carries even further on him. He gets 16 to 20 inches of rise on the fastball. It's like a Garrett Cole level vertical break. His fastball shouldn't be that bad by metrics. It's partially location and it's partially predictability. I don't care what pitch you throw, you have to have a pitch that is so good historically that the hitters are going to miss it no matter what. Like you have to have like a Mariano Rivera cutter or even Emmanuel Clase cutter of last year to still not hit the pitch when it's being thrown over 50% of the time. You can guess if you're a hitter on Gavin Williams and say there's a 50-50 shot he's going to throw me a fastball. It's why he's given up back-to-back starts, lead off, first pitch home runs, because he's predictable. These hitters are really good. Hitting is hard, but these hitters are really good, and they're training for 100 miles an hour, which means when you throw 96 and it looks like 100, they're ready for it. They have a 50-50 shot of guessing it's a fastball, and Gavin Williams is throwing a fastball more than 53% of the time. His fastball has the same whiff rate this year as it did last year. It's down from what it was in 2023. It is not acting like a good pitch. It is both location and predictability. He's got to throw the curveball for more strikes. he's got to throw his other pitches. He's got to rework that cutter back in. He's got to throw the sweeper more. He's got to start mixing other pitches in because it's not a good pitch right now. It's very, very predictable. He's not throwing first pitch strikes. He's not throwing a whole lot of strikes in general. He's not getting enough whiffs for a guy with his stuff. So yeah, the shrinking strike zone is not good for him. But he's got one of the best framers in baseball in Bo Naylor. So if that's not helping him buy those strikes, steal those strikes, then it's on Gavin Williams to locate, and it's on the Guardians to go out and change the pitch.
That's all of them this year, though. Like it's that we've had so many games where we talk about everyone being around the zone, not getting called. So it's like, I know the data is still there for Bo Naylor with framing, but I feel like, we've also had a lot of comment about like calling the game. Gavin Williams, it's like his pitch mix is dictated by the coaching staff and Bo. I don't see him wave him off. Like I can't think of the last time I saw Gavin wave someone off. So it's like and we've heard whispers before about Bo and game calling. It's not always the strongest suit of him. So it's like
it's one of those things that takes an adjustment. The thing with shaking off too that's hard is that you have the pitch clock now. How much time do you have to shake a catcher off? Like there is not a whole lot of shaking off anymore in baseball. Like I think if you look around the league, you don't see pitchers shaking anybody off. I think a lot of that has to do with the pitch clock now. Pitchers are worried about the pitch clock, and I can totally understand that too. And part of this too is going to be ABS training. A lot of these umpires are being graded based off of the computer, and they want to get better grades, and they are for the most part, except for strikeouts. So there's an element to that here too. So maybe they're getting the strike zone right a little bit more often than not. I will say one thing: if you're watching a broadcast on TV and you're going by the box on the TV, you're going to drive yourself nuts because that thing is never accurate. The most accurate I've been told that you can follow is the live at bat on Baseball Savant. If you look at live at bat or you look at the 3D picture on Savant, that's the best you're going to do. That's the best you can track from the actual strike zone to your computer. It's not the TV. It's not MLB Game Day. It's Savant, and it's the 3D pitch tracker because that's coming directly from what the cameras are seeing in ballparks. What are we seeing when we watch Travis Bazzana play this year? He got off to a hot start. Things have been a little bit weird for him this year. We'll talk about Travis Bazzana. We'll talk about some other Guardians minor leaguers who are doing well, who's struggling, and what their future looks like according to Jeff and I on the rest of today's Locked On Guardians. Maybe you want to go see Travis Bazzana. Maybe you want to see the Guardians and they come back home next week, or maybe you just got other events in Cleveland. There's a lot going on in Cleveland. For me, there's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. I love the crack of the bat or the ball hitting the mitt, as it were, the roar of the crowd, the smell of ballpark food. We all love that. If you're looking to go last minute, we know that Game Time is the place to make tickets. Getting tickets easier. They have last minute deals, all in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee. They take the stress out of buying MLB tickets, and we know that ticket prices, they drop as game time gets closer, so you can score an incredible deal just before first pitch. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and as the Guardian season heats up here in May, I could count on them to help me grab tickets that meet my needs. I'm going to use them for baseball this year. I'm going to use them for concerts. I just saw another concert announcement I know my wife wants to go see. I'm going to have to use Game Time to look at that one. There's comedy shows that come to Cleveland during the summer that are so good. There's plays all year round. We have one of the best theater districts in all of the world, all of the U.S. You can find all the events you're looking for on Game Time. You can get an incredible deal while doing it. Waiting until the last minute to have a night out with your friends or do something fun. Maybe you want to wait on the weather because we know the weather in Cleveland hasn't been great. So maybe you want to wait that out too and use Game Time to get a last minute ticket. So take the guesswork out of buying any tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use your code LOCKEDONMLB. That's going to get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply as always. Again, create the account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices. That is a guarantee. Get a lot of questions about Travis Bazzana, Jeff. He was on base, I think, 8 times in his first 3 days of the season. He was off to a really good start. He has struggled since then. He did hit 2 home runs last week, so that's good, right? You always want to do that. I think the most interesting thing to me for Travis Bazzana, and this is just These are just 2 at bats. They're just 2 at bats. But I think it's a bit of a microcosm for his entire issue. 2 of his 3 home runs this year, Jeff, have been to the opposite field, which is odd because he's pulling the ball 51% of the time. He's hitting the ball in the air 44% of the time. These are all good things. That's what we want Travis Bazzana to do. But 2 of his 3 home runs have been to the opposite field. And if you look at his strikeout rate, it's almost 30%. It's 27, which is way too high for a guy who makes a lot of contact. It doesn't hold up because he's only got a 7.6% swinging strike rate, which means, and I said this before on the show, when you look at swinging strike rate, you can essentially double it. You can, add or subtract a little bit, but essentially you double it. So if you look at 7.6 for Bazzana, his strikeout rate should be like 15 to 18, or it could be 14 to 18. It's 27. Again, it's passivity, and I think he's getting caught in between on a lot of pitches, which is really causing him to be late and in between on a lot of things when you're that passive. He's got to start making more decisive swing decisions. I don't know a better way to say that. Decisive swing decisions. That's kind of a not a double negative. What's the word for that? It's the same, repeating the same word, but that's where he has to go. He has to be more decisive about his swing decisions overall.
Yeah, it's a passive heavy approach. The other thing I'll say is like Nick Kurtz has been the poster child from this draft, and he is struggling mightily in the big leagues. And a lot of guys, I mean, Charlie Condon's hurt, and don't go look at what he did in high a year ago. It's some of the worst stats I've ever seen from a high pick. So I think there's a little bit of expectations that were unfair just because of how ridiculous college baseball was a year ago. I mean, this weekend we're going to face Dylan Cruz, who was, one of the best outfielding prospects of the last, one could argue the last 10 years in college baseball. Like he was that good from start to finish. So, and don't go look up his numbers because they're pretty bad for the Nationals. You'll see. So I'm confident in Bazzana. Like you looked at all the data, and not just that's why you don't want to look at just kind of the box score data. Like you look at the things he did well, like swinging strike rate, contact rates, exit velocities. That's why that stuff matters when we talk about Nolan Jones, because like that's your predictor stats. That's what tells you if a guy is lucky or good. Typically, it's going to tell you more than your box score stats. So I still have full faith in Bazzana, and he's going to outwork. And trust me, he is unhappy right now with his performance. He is going to be putting in all the extra time. And, he is the type of player who he's one of the few guys I would put money on the ability to make wholesale changes. Normally that can't happen, but like he is the one player who's going to have that killer instinct and has seemingly no life outside of baseball to focus on all those little minutia. I would love to see him playing better. He's still, producing well above league average.
Yeah, I think he's going to be just fine, but he is getting caught a little bit in between, and he's just kind of learning the strike zone, learning what pitches he wants to hit. And I think, he's just overall, the biggest issue for him is splits too. We talked about facing left-handers. Has been an issue for him too. That's probably the one place that you want to look at and say, okay, he needs to tighten things up against lefties. But who knows what he's working on and behind the scenes in terms of what he's trying to bring to the game and all those things. So it's been a slow start for him. It's unfortunate because, like we said before, if he was off to a hot start, he could have pushed his way to AAA. With Juan Brito being out, he could have been an option sooner than later. But the Guardians are definitely going to let him work through things in the minors, as it were. In terms of other guys in the minors, CJ Kayfus played. We didn't talk about him in the first segment, but CJ Kayfus played right field on Sunday, Jeff. He's off to a good start in Columbus. Now it's 4 games. We're not going to make any sweeping declarations after 4 games. Yeah. He struck out a little more at AAA, but those are not normalized numbers yet for him. But again, I think we said this in his time as promotion. If CJ Kayfus continues to get any time at AAA in right field, I'm going to pay attention because, maybe he becomes an option out there. He's not, I've seen him make the throws from out there in AA. Like he can make the throws. He can't be any worse than Noel or Rodriguez or Oscar Gonzalez in right field. The Guardians clearly don't really care that much about outfield defense. So I'm assuming you can hide him out there and replace him later in the game if you want to. So I'm going to keep an eye on Kayfus. He's out, like I said, he's off to a good start. And if he keeps getting starts in right field, I'm going to be interested.
100%. Like it comes down to if he keeps producing, he'll get his opportunity, he'll get his chance. And, you can hide all sorts of players in the outfield.
Yeah, you can. Speaking of outfielders, too, we had some questions about Tommy Hawke. in low A. This is one of those like funny stat lines too. You can keep an eye. I look at this every week, and it because we do daily minor league recaps over at nextyearincleveland.substack.com. If you want to subscribe, Tommy Hawke is almost always in them because he's always stealing a base. Tommy Hawke this year has 32 steals. He finally just got thrown out for the first time on Sunday, so he is 32 of 33. He had 37 all of a year ago. Hawke is 22. He'll be 23 this summer. So he's essentially playing all year, 22 for the most part. He's played some second base recently. He doesn't strike out. He's another passive hitter, but he's stealing every base in sight. And not to knock Tommy Hawke, but this is a league that just does not hold runners well. The catchers don't throw well. This is, I don't know, low A is like the shrinking of the minor leagues to me has really made low A very non-competitive league. You've got guys that are just there, I think, building habits, getting used to playing every day outside of the complex, learning to live on their own, as it were, and just road tripping, those kind of things. Like it's almost like an extension of college baseball, in some ways. It's not almost not part of the minor leagues. Like I wonder if after the next lockout, if it's going away.
Yeah, I mean, there's talk they want to eliminate more levels, right? Not, that they
well,
would
it's going to be
get rid of.
They'd like to. It's going to be hard for them to do it. I don't, because now that the minor leaguers have a union, it's going to be a lot harder. But I think they would like to eliminate low A is my guess. But they have a hard time doing it. Hopefully, I don't want more levels of the minor leagues to go away because I like minor league baseball and it's good for you and I to get more chances to watch players, and it's good for communities too, especially that don't like Lynchburg, Virginia doesn't have a baseball team near them. So this is their only baseball team they've really got in that area. So I don't want more to go away, but when you get rid of like short season, the competition just gets a little bit, and you're getting rid of players, the competition gets a little bit watered down and a little bit less experience. So these things tend to happen. You have to move guys through faster.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing there is just like they're trying to pass it on to the independent league, so then you don't have to pay for it. Like that's what it comes down to. Then you can, it's all about that's what it comes down to. But tomorrow we got 2 games to talk about. That's going to be tomorrow's big focus. There's the doubleheader. I think Zach Kent will be the 27th man. We'll have to wait and see. We want to thank you all for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily. Set it for auto downloads. That's an easy thing you can do. Thank you to everyone who joined, especially our everydayers and our insiders. And go Guardians, go.